we're going to be looking today at addition and doing a quick review of the addition with base 10 blocks. So with base 10 blocks, if you basically set out the hundreds column in the tens and the ones, similar to what we got here, we've got the problem here 345. So you can see we've got the 300s, we've got 4 tens, and we've got our 5 ones. And then we've got the addition problem that we're doing, the added, on the bottom. So we've got the 100, we've got the 3 tens, and we've got the 8 ones. So as we add these with base 10, we basically have to look at the fact that we've got 5 plus 8 gives us 13. Well, that's more than 10. So we move 10 of the ones into the 10 column, and you can see that it's added there. And so we end up with 3 left over, and that's what we end up here. And that one extra 10, because it's being moved over into the tens column, gets added into, oops, lost the screen for a second, there we go, gets added into the tens column there, so just at the top. Now we go to adding the tens column, and it basically just adds together. We've got the 4, and we've got another 4 because we've added the 1 there, so we get our 8, and finally we add the hundreds, which is just the 3 on top plus the 1 gives us 483. And that's basically how you work with base 10. Now there is another way that you can do it. If we look at the same problem here of 345 plus 138, now what if you added the hundreds first instead of the tens and the ones? Because it is possible to do that way. So the first thing that you do is you add all together the hundreds, and you can see them there. So you've got 400, and then you add the tens, you've got 70, and it's important here to record it vertically on top of each other, so that if you do have too many in one column, you can move them over, and you're going to see that when we add the ones. So here's the ones column. We've got 13 down at the ones, and finally the last thing that we have to do is we have to add them up and basically just keep track of your columns. You've got 3 ones, you've got 8 under the tens, and you've got the 4. So you can see that that's the last step, and I say combine the hundreds, tens, and ones. You have to regroup the 10 ones for the 10, so that's here, and then record the sum of the partial sums, and these are the partial sums in between. So when working with base 10, you can either choose to move from the ones, which is the traditional way, over to the hundreds, or you can choose to start at the hundreds and move through the tens and the ones. And of course, when we get into adding thousands, which we will, it's the same process. You're just adding another place value column. So that's working with base 10. The same thing can be done without the base 10 when you're just working vertically. And you can see here that with 345 plus 138, you could just basically add the ones and put 13 down, and automatically when you do that this way, you are moving one group of 10 out of your ones into the 10 column, and then just adding the 10s, 70, and then adding 3 plus 1 is 400, and then you add your partial sums and you get the 483. Now, as I said with base 10, you can do it the other way as well, and this is how it would look if you were adding the hundreds first. So you say the 300 plus 100 gives you the 400. The 400 and 300 gives you the the 40 and 30 gives you 70, and then the 5 ones and 8 ones gives you 13 for the total of 483. So this is another way you can record it, using either the traditional way of adding the ones and the tens and the hundreds, and then the other way of adding the hundreds and then the tens and then the ones. This way really comes into play when you're doing mental math and trying to figure it out in your head. it really helps to be able to do that. So what if we're doing it sideways, and we've been given a problem, 345 plus 138. You start with the 145 and you add the 138. So the first thing that you would do is add the hundreds. So mentally you would think, okay, so 345 plus 100 gives you the 445. Then you would add the 30. So 445 plus the 30. And then finally you're going to add the ones column, which is the 8. So here you start with 345 and then you add the 100, so 445, then add the 3 tens to give you 475, and then you add your 8 ones, which gives you the 483. So that's another way that you can do it when you're adding horizontally, is just start with the first number and then add to it the various parts as you go. Next, one thing you can do, say you've got a number that is close to 100 or even close to a 10, you can round up, you can estimate. So in this example we've got 357 plus 597. Well, 597 is very close to 600. So in order to understand the problem and in order to maybe do it mentally, just add yourself 3. So by adding 3, we end up getting 357 plus 600, and then that's very easy to actually figure out. You actually just do it, you get 957, but then we have to minus the 3 that we had at the first, and then 957 minus the 3 gives you 954. So if you're dealing with numbers that are close to 100, close to 1,000, close to 10, this is another way that you can actually do the problem. So I hope this gives you a good indication of working with addition and some different ways to do it, because remember, the traditional way is not the only way that you can add. There are other ways that you can add. Enjoy!